And we're live. Hi, everyone. Welcome to Island Mom After Dark. We are going to be joined momentarily by Garth Williams and Noran Price. The topic tonight is the dad debate. So, if you're a member of our group, then you would know that, things can get intense when we talk about dads from time to time. But really and truly, this whole conversation is necessary. It's also necessary to highlight amazing fathers. And of course, this is right ahead of Father's Day, which is coming up shortly. So I want to just mention a few things. You would know that we had took a little break from Island Mom After Dark because we had the mom show in partnership with Brunswick. And then we're kind of restructuring things with the mom show, so there will be more things to come, which is great. But in any case, it's all about Island Mom After Dark right now. And for the next couple of weeks, we have some interesting topics. But right now, we're focusing on the dads. So without further ado, I want to welcome Sir Noran Price. Hi, Noran. Unmute your mic, sir.
Hello.
Welcome to Island Mom After Dark. What's going on?
Thank you for having me. I'm fine. I'm looking forward to tonight's discussion.
Nice. You can pay attention to the comments if anything pops up. But backstory, Noran is a great friend of mine. He was my first work husband. First husband. First work husband. A great friend. And we've always been, I would say, colleagues. We're good. Like we go way back too, from when we lived.
Yes. way back. Families way back.
Yeah, the families go way back. So just so you know, if anybody's posting in Island Mom or commenting, you're gonna have to just mention your name in the comments because of Facebook privacy policy. So if you're in the group and you comment, you need to just say your name when you're commenting so we know who we're talking to. Otherwise, if you're commenting from a page, we're gonna see you. So tell me, so the whole topic is the dad debate. We're gonna be bringing in Garth into the conversation very shortly, but I'd love to know what impact your father played in terms of determining the role that you are playing as a father.
All right. Well, before becoming a father, my father was the strong, silent type, but he was always present.
Okay.
And he had the ability to make himself be recognized without opening his mouth. So, very strong presence. His demeanor wasn't mean or anything like that, far from it. But he was serious when he needed to be and jovial when he needed to be. I learned how to treat women from looking at my father and how he treated my mother, and then how he treated us. But it's four boys, so a father with a boy versus a father with a girl. There are differences. So he got for lack of a better term, the gruff.
Oh.
That was actual dialogue. That was what we said. Good morning. But that's strong. Yeah, that's how we spoke. But the strong presence of being a father, being a man in the house, I kind of osmosis for me because I did take some of his teachings just by watching him and applied it to my daughter.
Oh, okay. I get you. So you brought up your daughter. You have now a 15-year-old. Like, how terrified are you to have a? I'm sorry, but you have to be realistic. But how terrified are you to have a 15-year-old, a teenage girl?
Fun and joke aside, I'm not terrified. I do have the fear that every parent has with their child, of course. But my daughter she's surrounded by so much love from so many different families and angles. And knock on wood, I a fantastic kid. Meaning I never got trouble She's not rude. I've never had to really discipline her in the way you'd see nowadays. So I'm not terrified because her foundation is very strong in between her immediate parents, her grandparents, her aunts, her uncles, both blood and non-blood. She's around so much good natured that it phases into her, and I've seen her in her life with her friends now and around other adults. I see it coming through her. She's like me. She's like her mother. She's like her grandfather. She's like her grandmother.
Mm-hmm.
So we lucked out. So I'm not terrified. I have the fear of her safety, her well-being, both physical and mental. So I
Mm-hmm.
do make it a habit to. She's not with me here. She lives abroad,
Mm-hmm.
but we speak almost every day, and I
Which
will
is amazing
have conversations with her about. Yeah,
yeah.
you talk about you talk about topics like that are happening now, the riots, the protests. I ask her about things like that. We
Mm-hmm.
have topics about just her general life and growing up in another country as a teenager. How is she? And talk about boys, and she gets a little shy because she thinks her father is gonna reenact that bad boy scene whenever I meet the
Of
boys that
course you are.
she's talking to.
Of
But
course you are.
of course I
You're
have to.
pregnant about it all
Come
the
on,
time.
have to all the time. So we I'm not terrified. I'm not terrified at all. I am anxious because I'm not physically in her presence all the time,
Mm-hmm.
but just between what she has foundation here, the foundation she has with her mother who she lives with, it is so
Right.
strong, both individually and together as a unit, that
Mm-hmm.
I'm not terrified. The jitters, because she's gonna start driving soon, which
Oh my
I still can't
goodness.
believe saying it out loud. Yeah,
Wow.
yeah,
Okay. It sounds
but I'm
like
looking forward.
to make an appearance because yeah, I can't get around that anyway. Well, Jody and Dill says that you're super terrified. That's what she
Eh,
said.
I don't think I'm not super terrified, but just anxious, just in the way any parent would be anxious with their child, knowing that she's going to be in soon. She's going to be starting her own adult life soon. And
Yeah.
while I'd love to be there for every step, I'm not. So there's a little bit of anxiety, but nothing terrifying. I'm not biting my fingernails or anything like that.
Well, I want to give a couple shout outs. So hi to Jody. Hi Lisa. Hi Patrick. And for anyone else watching, thank you for joining us so far. I'm gonna cut over to Garth for a second, and we're gonna bring you back in a moment, Noran. So, Garth, what's going on?
Hey,
Welcome to Island Mom After Dark.
um, yeah, happy to be here. Good evening, good night, good day, depending on the time zone to all your listeners, all your viewers, every member of the group, the page, etc. It's a pleasure.
Well, thank you for like coming on board. You've always been very supportive of Island Mom, that's for sure,
Right.
a long time. But let's go into it because I want to know. And it's funny because you and I we met long time ago. I think you were hosting an event, and somehow we
That's likely.
it's like long time. But then we
Right.
bonded over our moms. Like that was how we kind of started talking, you know. And then over
Right.
time, you know, the friendship has bloomed as well. We never got to work husband levels though. Never got there.
No,
No.
no, no. We almost, but nah.
But okay, so like the topic is it's about the dad debates. And I
Right.
use the word debate intentionally because we have a lot of debates in Island Mom about dads and the roles that fathers play and or don't play. But I want to ask you, like, what impact did your father have in terms of your
Oh,
role
wow.
for both boy and girl? Because you have both a daughter and a son.
Right. So I have two children. My daughter is 11. My son is 7. Happy I had them in that order because my daughter has taught me to really discover and unearth my caring side.
Mm,
She's very gentle. She's very affectionate, while my son is more special ops, SEAL team, terrorist type. He's a crazy kid. He's very rough, but I mean, you get to see the real difference between the genders like that. But let's get to my dad because, unlike Noran, my dad was. I did not grow in the house with dad.
Mm.
So first and foremost, I'm the oops baby. When I was born, my dad was 63, my mom was 37. My
Mm.
dad was still married, but he and his wife and my mom were all cool because, well, we were all church folk, but it had to be kept a secret. Now I'm almost 40, so hey, who cares? Um, but, but it was funny because dad would and his wife would come to look for me and mommy like regular, right? We're all traveling in the same car to church on a Sunday, back home on a Sunday. He taught me to play a wide range of board games and card games.
Mhm.
His wife taught me to play the piano. He bought me a piano when I was 10. So he was very involved in my life despite not being in the house on a day-to-day basis. He was a
Mhm.
super kind guy, really, really personable. Affable is what I'd probably use to describe him, to be
Mhm.
honest. Um, and just always looking out for people. But then my mom was also the same. She was super kind too. So that has kind of that bit of social DNA, so to speak,
Mhm.
is within me. Um,
Mhm.
I bonded with my father when I moved to Kingston in '99 to go to UA. So he was in Kingston as well, living with one of my brothers. Um, so on a weekend, like from Friday evenings straight to Sunday evenings, I would just head up to the house and just hang out with daddy for the weekend, you know. And
Mhm.
that's where we started to get to bond with each other, having a few Heinekens. He's a Heineken lover, was a Heineken lover. He died in 2004.
Mhm.
Um, so he loves whiskey as well. So, you know, I'm a whiskey drinker too.
I think
So
everyone knows
it was
that.
right.
Both
But yeah,
both
so
you and Noran. Both you and
right. So with dad, it was really that bonding time as an adult. So we got to have that man to man kind of, connection with each other. Um,
Mhm.
he and mom never revealed that he was my father until I was 16. But
Mhm.
I worked it out from I was a kid. But I'd get all sorts of stories from mom about who my dad was or where my dad was and whatnot. It didn't confuse me though because he was there.
Mhm.
Um, but I know why later in life why they couldn't trust a child necessarily to kind of keep those cards close to his
Ah.
chest. But despite my own discovery of the whole situation, I kept those cards close to my chest. And
Mhm.
I'm very happy for the way I was brought up because it has changed my worldview a lot. I mean, or shaped, I should say, my worldview a lot. I'm very open minded about a broad variety of things.
Mhm.
So having come through that experience, I'm less judgy.
Mhm.
I think we all judge everybody and everything, but the mature thing to do is to not let your judgment cloud how you deal with people. You deal with them based on their own merit.
Right.
And that was always my father's mantra as well. He was never somebody to look at a situation and go, or yay, you know what I mean?
Mhm.
He was
Mhm.
always like, all right, let's see how this plays. Approach things with caution and then see if you should let your guard down or
Mhm.
if you should be more guarded, you know? Um,
Right.
so that's pretty much how he has shaped me. And that impact on the way I raise my children now is
Mhm.
I raise them to think freely, to
Mhm.
question everything, to question even me, question their mom, question their teachers without
Right.
being rude, right?
Mhm.
I encourage them to seek the why behind things,
Mhm.
which is something dad encouraged me to do. My mom, to
Mhm.
a lesser extent, mommy was more like, I set the rules, I pay the bills, shut up, deal with it. Right? Daddy was more of, well, this is why you should do this because it makes sense.
Mhm.
This is why
Mhm.
you shouldn't do this because, well, logically, it don't make any sense. You know what I mean?
Right.
Even changing my major, which I did like twice while at university, my mother cut me off for like about 6 months. She just would not have a word to say to me. Um, Dad was more like, I remember when I told dad, for example, I was taking like a gap year.
Uh-huh.
Like this is my second year of university. I'm taking a gap year. My mother is like, "Where you gonna find money from?" Daddy was more like, am I expected to fund this? And I'm like, so I'm like, yeah, daddy, beg your thing for the year now. And he's like, well, all right, fine. I can't make it dead for hungry. So I'm like, all right, good. But that year was very important. I got my first job, and I've never stopped working since.
Mm-hmm.
And he really was just rather very supportive.
Mm-hmm.
As a matter of fact, even the way his estate was left for me and my siblings was very, like, it was very forward thinking. That guy was a super planner. I suppose it's the chess player in him, and
Oh,
it's a chess
okay.
and it's a chess player in me too.
Mm-hmm.
I'm very planful, so I try to think way down the line,
Yeah.
and then align myself so that I can achieve those goals. It doesn't always work, but so those are some of the things I got from my dad.
Jody says that it's an amazing story. Yeah, they had
Yeah,
a great ability to co-parent despite the circumstances. That's huge. That is huge.
yeah, yeah. I
Um,
mean, like I think about it, and it's almost like something you'd probably read about.
yeah,
It's
like
not
when
the
you're
story you
telling me,
hear
I'm like,
often, but yeah.
okay, so tell me about the your role as a husband. Like, how has that shaped? Because especially since you were having somewhat of a visiting relationship with your dad, how has that shaped your role as husband and partner?
Well, so I wouldn't have learned to be a husband from my dad,
Mm-hmm.
in the most direct sense. The one thing I've tried to ensure that I steer clear of is getting that outside child. I think, I think what fathers always try to do. No, let me not say
Mm-hmm.
always. But I can talk about my generation, myself, and my peers, right?
Mm-hmm.
Um, we try to do is the things that we did not like in our father's approach, we ensure that we don't deliver those things as fathers now.
Mm-hmm.
The things that we liked about our father's approach, we try to apply those things now. So, in a way, it's setting us up to evolve, if you will, into a better being or a better version of your dad. Um,
Mm-hmm.
so to answer your question, though, how has my father shaped my role as a husband and father in the situation in my
Right.
marriage? Um, well, to be very caring, to be present,
Mm-hmm.
because dad was not there day to day in the house. I
Mm-hmm.
make sure that I'm here. I didn't really get to cook with dad until when I was at university, and even so, we had like a helper, so we never had to cook,
Mm-hmm.
at least together. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
But he told me of the importance of cooking, and I discovered that. Um, I used it to my advantage when I was a
Yeah.
university student. We all go through phases. Um, so, but it has become very useful because now I earn from it,
Mm-hmm.
and now I use it to bond with my children. I use it to bond with my wife as well. So we hang out in the kitchen. We eat a lot together. Well, we eat together often. Let me put it that way.
I'm gonna bring
um,
back Noran like right now because this brings in a nice opportunity. Because Noran cooks too. Like that's one of the reasons why I said I had to bring you guys here first because we're gonna be talking about like roles and stuff and how the father has evolved. But both are it's a big yard at this party, Noran. Yeah.
I'm sorry. I apologize. I apologize. Yeah.
But
So you were asked
both
about
of
in the
you are
kitchen.
amazing in the kitchen. I'm just saying, just dropping that one in there and bringing you officially back into the conversation. So it's the three of us now, and I am using the
right.
opportunity to highlight a comment that just came up in the group. So this person dropped an anonymous comment, and I'm curious. So did that situation make you more open to the possibility of going outside your marriage? I'm trying not to judge. Please don't be offended. This one is directed to Garth. And I'm happy that the moms are participating and
All right.
asking
Now, well,
hard questions. What you say, Garth? Garth
yeah.
free? Garth,
All
you're
right. So let me take the last part of that statement first. No, I'm not offended.
okay, good.
No, No, am I frozen? This is
Well, kind of like
no. Don't say that.
you're there. We can hear you. We can hear
Am
you.
I back now?
Yes, it will rectify itself. Don't worry. But let's get into the question.
Oh, okay. All right. Cool. All right, sure, no problem. Yeah, so I'm not offended. One, but no, it has not made me any more open to the possibility of going outside my marriage. Like the marriage that my wife and I have is it's pretty unique. In the Jamaican context,
Mm,
it's not popular in across the island, I would say, or across our culture. But elsewhere, you'd find that people are as open. I'm using a pun now, as we are.
mhm,
However, it's not something that either of us like take advantage of or use, to be honest, because between kids and work, and I have multiple revenue streams. I mean, I'm home a lot. I do events, but like, for me, it's just to turn up, take a few pictures, shake some hands, and I'm off. But it has not made me any more inclined to go outside my marriage. Even if it wasn't shaped the way it is, I wouldn't be
mhm,
any more inclined. It's just that I'm a little more understanding of
mhm,
how it can happen.
mhm,
And also, I recognize that if it should happen, there is a way for the man to be a good father, despite maybe not being in the household every day with the child or children. You know,
mhm,
I also recognize that there are women out there who have a temperament, like my father's wife did, who can understand the situation and go, all right, this thing has happened.
mhm,
We already have adult children. You've brought this. You've created another. But let us not make it ruin our marriage. We've had a foundation for years. Let us see how we can make the best of it. Let us not make this child suffer, just as we are trying to work and ensure that our marriage remains intact.
mhm. There's a question here from Jody. Jody's asking to both of you, what advice would you give for persons who want to get married or to persons who are currently married?
Hmm.
That's a big question, Jody.
Yeah,
And
it
I don't think
is. It
some
is.
have alcohol present. You should have.
um, I've said quite a bit. Let Noran give this one a stab first, and then I'd be more than happy to jump in.
All right. My advice for somebody who wants to get married, first things first, ask yourself, do you want to get married because you love the person, or do you want to get married because you want to be married?
Mm-hmm.
I know the question might sound a little repetitive, but some people just want to be married just to say they're married. It doesn't
It's
matter who the
true.
person is, they just want to be married. So ask yourself, why am I getting married? And also, if you are the, let's say, if the man is the person who's going to propose, is it a boy I might as well because we've been together for so long? So no, or is it, yeah, it's the person I know that I want to be with, so I'm going to do it. Ask, you have to find the person's motivations. Find your
Mm-hmm.
own motivation and see if this is really what you want to do. Because
True.
in a perfect world, you'd only do it once, but we don't live in a perfect world. So the question is, do you want to get married because you want to get married, or you want to get married to that person? And then as far as the advice for the, have the hard conversation, both with yourself and with the person you intend to marry openly. Because seeing the other person's reactions might actually show you exactly what you feel on a deeper level that you probably didn't realize.
Mm-hmm.
As far as persons who already are married, it's ask yourself if you actually like the person you're with.
Mhm.
Yes, you're married, but do you actually like the person you're with? And if you don't anymore, it's no longer the oogie boogie, lovey feelings where now it's just kind of routine. Ask yourself, get out of the routine. Can we re energize the relationship? Is it worth re energizing at all?
Mm-hmm.
Because the fact is, feelings change, people change. That is an inevitable thing. People change. So ask yourself, how do you really feel? Say it out loud so you can actually hear yourself say the words because that's when it's real. You can
Mm-hmm.
have it in your head all the while, but once you say it out loud, you hear yourself say, oh, I don't know if I'm still in love with my wife or I'm still in love with my husband or if I really like my wife or if I really like my husband. That sets a tone And that's something you can build on, assuming that the person you're speaking with isn't emotionally react upset and offended, and therefore you can't talk. Because if this is how you feel, say it, and
Right.
then go from there. Because I've been guilty of, holding on to something in your head because you're trying to work it out, and then when it comes out, it's now the other person is caught off guard.
Right.
So conversations with your partner.
I think we're starting to get echoes. Do you guys have headphones just in case? Garth,
Yeah.
have your headphones?
Yeah, man.
Mine
Yeah,
just
man.
in case. Maybe it's me. It's all me.
Those those were some very good points raised by Noran just now. So I don't have to reiterate those. What I'd like to add is, well, the one thing I'd probably want to reiterate is that matter of liking the person. I think it's compatibility that's one of the most important things. Because what's happening is that see me and live with me, two different things. You know what I mean? Um, you can have all the fun you want, and really have a great relationship going, because at the end of the night you're going home to your own bed, or to a bed that does not include this person. Um,
Mhm.
but then, when you've got to wake up with them, when you've got to manage their little idiosyncrasies and the little this and the little that, the little things that tick them off in a domestic situation, then you've got to that's a true test. That's a real test right there. Um, I- I- so
And
give
then you
that some
add kids.
consideration, and then when you add kids to the mix, right?
That helicopter? What is that? It's a helicopter?
Yeah.
Okay.
I don't know. It's Noran's. I think that's Noran's background, right?
I
But
apparently live in the middle of, yeah.
Don't
yeah,
worry. We'll work with it.
right.
We'll work with it.
Yeah, but the other thing I'd like to add to, I mean, when you add kids and financial situations and job
Lisa
security
says
and all
that's
these
so
other
true.
things to it, then all sorts of things can happen, and that's a true test of how well you get along with each other. I remember when we were doing our vows, there was a line that we had in it that said, "I've seen the best in you, and I've seen the worst, and I choose both." And you have to really sometimes see the worst in your partner to really go, "All right, hold on,
Mhm.
I'm not cut out for this," or I'm like, okay, we can work on this, or we can live with this, because
Mhm.
some things are personality traits and they're not going to go away. There are other things that people can evolve past. There are other things that people evolve into as well. So
Mhm.
you've got to be prepared for all those things. But it's all about truth telling, and being able to accept a dose of truth. For example, people have been together for a long time, somebody proposes, and then all of a sudden somebody says no. Um, how do you move on from that? What do you do then? But I think in a case like that, it is important that the person said, "Hey, I love you, I'm with you, this is great, but I cannot see myself marrying you at the moment. This is
Mhm.
a full-time, long-term, hopefully permanent commitment that you're making.
Mhm.
And the last thing you want to do is to commit to a situation that you think will make you miserable." But before you even get to that point, I think people have to actually sit down and have a real conversation, because the truth is this: you can be in a relationship with somebody, but it's not meant to last forever. This could just be a relationship that
Mhm.
is a matter of a phase. The other thing is, I don't think everybody's cut out to be married. I don't think everybody's cut out to be single. I don't think everybody's cut out to be monogamous. I don't think everybody's cut out to be polyamorous or polygamous either. You have to know who you are. You have to discover yourself. I think a lot of times we put a lot of pressure on ourselves and our children and others around us because of certain societal ideals. Not everybody is going to get married and find the one and have the 2.5 kids with the picket fence.
Yeah.
We're not all going to have that situation.
Mhm.
And you find that a lot of women, especially, get depressed when they get to a certain age, and they are not married or they have not started a family. Do not feel pressured. Gentlemen, same thing. If you get to a certain age and you don't have any children, people start, well, obviously people call it gelding. Let's start there, right? Then there are other people who are like, oh, hold on there, so him now water no grass, that's why not nah grow, so why my water?
These
You
are
know what
the
I mean? And
pressures
start to
that we
question the
don't hear
sexuality.
about.
We put too much pressure on people around these things. It ought not to be. We
Mhm.
ought to be free to grow. Yeah, it's true.
Yeah.
But we ought to be free to think for ourselves and do what is best for us based on who we are.
Mhm.
We've got to raise the level of our thinking.
Mhm.
But again, just to go back to the question itself, it's about compatibility and truth telling. Be very honest about
Mhm.
yourself and
Mhm.
with your partner, and be willing as well to accept a dose of truth from your partner.
Mhm. Mhm. I'm gonna bring in. Wow, we can't even see each other. Danielle Sherlock. She's asking. So this is gonna get personal, guys. Like you're reading the question, right?
Yeah, we can see it.
Hmm.
Yeah.
How
So
long have you both been married?
let's have Noran respond first. I'm gonna have to show the question like a couple of times because it's a big one. Thanks, Danielle. So you
Okay,
want to
so the
start,
first
Noran?
part of it was
Yeah.
how long have I been married? I was married for approximately 4 years, thereabout.
Hmm.
Um, we were in a relationship for a few years before friends, then relationship, then married. And I was married for about 4 years. As for the no longer in love, there will always be times when that might come across your mind. There will always be that time when you wonder, why am I not, as I said before, why not feeling that boogie people feel it? And it will happen. Stay
Hmm.
together for the kids. I understand the desire. I understand the intent. There are times when it work, but I don't always work. It's actually depending on the level of aggression or civility between the mother and father. Staying
Hmm.
together for the kids can actually do more harm than good, in my opinion, because
True, true,
people
true.
need to realize that kids aren't stupid.
Yeah.
Kids can pick up when there's animosity between the parents. Some
Hmm.
kids will even capitalize on it. So
Mm.
Yeah.
staying together for the kids, some this might sound a little much, but I think the kids will get over it if you
Mm.
handle it correctly. Yes, it will hurt them and they will feel a little disjointed because they don't longer have that family unit. But if you make sure that you keep the civility, keep respect between yourself and the mother,
Hmm.
or sorry, the other parent, keep that genuinely, you'll be surprised how much the kids actually benefit because now they have seen that two adults who may have found themselves in a not so great situation can handle it like adults.
Hmm.
That might be wishing on a star because not everybody has that kind of thing, but I had it and I still have it. I have an incredible relationship with my child, even though we're no longer together.
Hmm.
So, it can be done, but it has to
Right.
be done with intent. You have to
Hmm.
intend to make sure that the child is not affected. So if you have to move out or somebody has to move out, it will come down to that sometimes. But staying together for the kids is not something I recommend because you're not being true to yourself and you're actually teaching and showing your kids that even if something is hurting you inside, stick to it
Hmm.
because of somebody else. There's
And
benefit in it, and I understand, like I said, I understand context, but it's not always a good thing.
this is a perfect opportunity to mention daddy issues because you just mentioned about how things can be affecting the child and so forth. So let's talk about daddy issues. um what because I think the term daddy issues tends to be allocated quite heavily to female, if she has daddy issues, but what does it mean for both men and women,
Wow.
in your opinion?
Daddy issues.
Is Nora getting a headache? Like, Nora, okay, stress out.
No, 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 not at all, not at all, not at all.
Daddy issues for me
Mhm.
Well,
refers to any
Garth can
kind.
finish.
Yeah, right. No, daddy issues for me refers to any kind of manifestation of a problem in somebody's life that people attribute to the absence of a father, or a poor father having, been present in the person's life.
Mm-hmm.
Again, it comes up because of either of those two things: a bad dad in place or a dad not in place, right?
Mm-hmm.
I think it is important for us to recognize that if you're going to be as a father, or you're going to have your child's father present in the child's life, whether in a marriage or a casual or a relationship, a committed relationship, or common law, whatever you want to do, whether formally or otherwise, you have to ensure that he performs at his best, or he does his best for the child, right?
Mm-hmm.
Now, you can only bring a horse to the water, you can't make him drink. So if he's going to be a total shitbag, then I can say that, by the way. But if
Yes,
he's
you
going to be a but if he's going to be a total pile, then I don't know. You have to try find some way to correct that
can.
in the child and in him. By reaching out probably to people he knows, who you have to say to them some more without slandering him. Say, hey, listen, try and encourage this gentleman to do better by his child without
Mm-hmm.
revealing too much either. You know what I mean? If you're in the relationship with someone, seek counseling. You have to try find some means by which, and some men resist those kinds of things. You have to
Mm-hmm.
find, however, try to find some kind of means by which you can get them on that right path to do better for the child.
Mm-hmm.
And nothing beats research, nothing beats science, nothing beats credible data and information. So if it is that you have to read on your own or speak to professionals to find out how poor fathers ultimately affect children who when they become adults, then do that and present the findings to this gentleman,
Mm-hmm.
in whatever means that you can break it down simply for him. It can't just be that you throw a book at him and say, go read that. That's why you need to do better. No. Um, I'm putting a lot of the onus here on the partners,
Mm-hmm.
or on the women. And so let me flip the script and talk to the men,
Mm-hmm.
right? I think we all have to recognize that what we do now, whatever seeds we sow in the lives of our children, it will come to fruition at some point in their life.
Mm-hmm.
So if you continuously abuse them, they ultimately may go down a path of abuse, whether as the giver or the receiver. You're talking about affecting people's self-esteem and self-confidence, and how terribly that can really affect them. I remember, like, probably a couple of weeks ago, I started watching the Jeffrey Epstein docu-series on Netflix.
Mm-hmm.
And this bastard of a man, along with his very rich and powerful friends, preyed on children who were in abusive homes, or the
Yep.
parents were druggies, or, it was all
They knew
vulnerable
who to
people.
target. Yeah.
Exactly, they knew exactly who to target. So,
Mm-hmm.
and a lot of that would have come from, and some of the ladies, some of the survivors spoke about their upbringing and how troubled it was, and how he made them feel, and how some of their friends made them feel, in some cases comfortable, in other cases desperate and out of hope. Daddy issues can just ruin someone forever. And it is multi-generational. It can not just affect the child, but
Mm-hmm.
if that child is to become a parent as well. So fathers have a responsibility to do this job properly. In fact, it shouldn't be seen as a job. It really is your duty. You are having a whole bunch of fun making this kid or these children.
Mm-hmm.
So is now comes a responsibility part. You have to make sure, say, you deal with the thing proper.
Mm-hmm. Nora, do you want to say anything?
Agree. Well, for me, daddy issues as it relates to a male, what I believe is, and I've seen it through my own social interactions. Sometimes a young man might have a father who is either very strong, powerful, domineering, whatever the case may be, and he might find himself disliking his father or even hating his father, but
Mm-hmm.
then ultimately doing some of the very same things his father did in his own relationships. So
Mm-hmm.
it's like he's fighting this ghost of who he thinks his father is. If his father is
Mm-hmm.
very popular, if his father is very educated, then he feels that he needs to measure up to that. And if he doesn't, It affects his self-confidence and he might lash out by being overly aggressive or overly shy, whatever the case may be. So daddy issues are generational drippings, for lack of a better term, that can either be negative between the father and that young man, or how he is as a father to his own children. So that's what daddy issues.
What you said a while ago, I found very interesting, like fighting the ghost, but it's also almost competing with the ghost in some manner too. Yeah.
It's shadow boxing and losing.
Wow. Yeah. So this brings us perfectly into this topic here. You know, the difference between father versus dad, and I'll just say it on behalf of some of the moms who have expressed very openly in Island Mom that they use the term sperm donor too. You know, if the male is not present at all. So the difference between father versus dad, break that down for me individually. Garth, I'll start with you.
Father versus dad. Wow. So the terms have always been used interchangeably, I've found. But if I'm to go with a definition, I'm going to go with father being the biological being responsible for making this child. And dad being, because I think a man can be both. And dad for me now is the other side of that, the parent, the person who does the growing and the nurturing and the being present and being being connected with, or that way. I don't think I can properly articulate it, but again, but I think a man can be both. So you met the child and you are there in the child's life because you did this, but dad now is the more likable, relatable is the word I was looking for. Being who shows you how to ride a bike, and shows you how to play games, and hangs out with you, and you go on adventures with. And father for me is just a bit more on the biological side, but still being ever present. I don't think there should be a difference between the two. I think father and dad should go together, and then sperm donor on the other side.
Noran, you have anything you want to say based on that one?
Well, what Garth said just at the last part of it, I agree to. Father and dad to me have more of a positive connotation, so therefore they'd be the same. Then maybe the other one would be sperm donor, for lack of a better term. And it is the father / dad is the person that puts in the time, puts in the energy, puts in the work. The person that doesn't see it as a job but a duty. That's who the father is, and that's who the dad is. The sperm donor, as you said, had some fun, and I may not, whether it's no interaction, no involvement, or minimal involvement, whatever the case may be.
Right.
If I'm a father, then I'm going to want to be in that child's life. If I'm a dad, I'm going to want to be in that child's life, even if I'm not with the mother of that child. But as a sperm donor, you'd say, this thing happened, I'll contribute, but I'm not really connected. The emotional connection is not necessarily there.
So I'm going to mention some research that I did. So there was a study that came out, I believe it was in 2014 or 2015. It was a bit of a case study. It was published by the Early Childhood Commission on factors involving or factors affecting fathers' involvement in the holistic development of their children. So that's a big mouthful. But in terms of the percentage breakdown, 40% of the fathers who were involved in the study said that their role as economic provider prevented them or had some effect on them not being involved in the holistic development of their children. 10% felt that they needed more maternal support in supporting their role in that holistic development. 20% said that they were separated from their child, and then 10% said that work interference affected it, and then another 10% said their role as punisher versus disciplinarian affected, their involvement with that holistic development. And then a final 10 said that they lacked an awareness. This was a big thing for me. They lacked an awareness about how to actively engage with their children. So that kind of brings us into my next question for you guys, which is around toxic masculinity and fatherhood. So that's a term, some people don't like it. I've come into circles where they don't even want to use it full stop. But it's a catchphrase that speaks to a larger topic, and people can kind of identify with the meaning of it. So I would like both of you, we can start with Garth, to speak to maybe touch on the factors here that were brought upon in the study, if you wanted to, but how does toxic masculinity affect fatherhood?
Wow. Yeah. I tell you, to be honest with you, it's a tough one. I think we can probably find the effects more readily than we can um, or think of elements of toxic masculinity, which I don't know, cultural norms associated with, you know,
Yeah.
harm to society and
Mm-hmm.
harm to men themselves. Some of the things that we do. Oh boy. Let me tell you, it shouldn't. It really, really shouldn't affect fatherhood, but it does. It is difficult to separate yourself as a being with issues, as a being with challenges, as a being hurting, as a being who engages in destructive activity, whether physically or otherwise, and not have that impact your role as a father or the way you deliver yourself to the child's mother, to the child himself or herself, right? There's you can't. It's almost like trying to separate an artist from the actual person. So they have a moniker, and then they have them government name. The two are going to get blurred. So there is no way for me to not make that affect my child. What it means is men have to recognize, whether on their own or through somebody else pointing it out, that listen, you're engaging in some very destructive things that is going to affect your child in a negative way. So here's what you need to do. You have to find some help. You have to find a way to ensure that you don't pass this on, that you don't screw up another generation because of what's going on in your life and what's going on just around you, because it doesn't exist in a vacuum either. Children are socialized by different means. It happens when they go to school. It happens when they watch things on TV, the media, just generally. So social media, traditional media, wherever. It's all around. Different things will shape your child. But you have to remember that if you are broken, hurt people, then you've got to find a way to not pass that on. It's impossible, I think, to be honest, without you fixing or getting some kind of help.
I want to kind of switch the question slightly for Noran. What role do women and the mothers have in perpetuating toxic masculinity and its effect on fatherhood? Because this is a topic that comes up quite a bit in our group, and that women also need to be very much accountable for how they are perpetuating a vicious cycle, how we are raising our boys to then become fathers and partners later on. So I'm putting that question to you, Nora.
All right. As far as the woman's role and or contribution to toxic masculinity, just the way you broke it down a while ago, it brought up some very interesting images in my head, where a woman will be the only parent in her son's life, and she tells the son every minute, "Your father, what was your father? What was your father? This, your father, that." That kind of negative reinforcement contributes to toxic masculinity, because that boy could then turn out to either be exactly like or hate his father
Mm-hmm.
or hate any man that comes around because unfortunately there are times when the relationship between the mother and the son is so close that it's almost like that's her boyfriend. Not sexually, of course.
Yeah,
I'm
yeah. Wait.
talking about that this is my one son. So even when he himself is now meeting women, it's like, oh, she not good for you. She
But even in that, that is toxic.
don't want to talk to her because
That
that
relationship
is
in
toxic.
itself is
And
toxic.
that toxic
Mm-hmm.
energy can spill on exactly, and that toxic
Mm-hmm.
energy can spill on to the male child. As for the female child, she just make it another version of herself, who might
Mm-hmm.
get with a young man who, in herself, the way she treats him based on what she's seen her mother do, turns him into this aggressive man because this is how I need to be from a woman, or this is how my woman makes me feel. It's a gamble. It is really
Mm-hmm.
a lottery. You don't know what you're gonna get.
Mm-hmm.
But women need to understand that their own actions sometimes can contribute to toxic masculinity,
Mm-hmm.
even though they are not male. Just that energy, even if they're
Right.
completely quiet, just that energy that seeps off you can affect a child that you're raising. It can affect your friends around. It can affect the entire room.
Mm-hmm.
So
Right.
I don't know if responsibility is the right word, but they have to recognize that they themselves can, maybe even indirectly,
Mm-hmm.
affect the masculinity. Affect it can create toxic masculinity without them even trying or being intended to do so. So yeah,
Right.
you
At
do
one
have a
point,
role. It's not your responsibility per se, but go ahead.
What
I,
you're saying, Garth?
um, when I hear Noran's response a while ago, I remember some simple things. I simple in quotes now, right? That people do, or women do. I notice it a lot, or used to notice it a lot. For example, your son, right? A little boy. You're introducing the kid to some people. You're like, boy, look at
Mm-hmm.
Johnny, a real gallus in him. Have how much girlfriend? And you're talking about even like primary school, even prep
Yeah.
school. It's cute. He has all these girlfriends, right? What
It's
you're doing
not
really
like
is
they get
kind
it
of,
from very young.
and
Mm-hmm.
you're just sowing the wrong seed. You're sowing the wrong seed. I mean, kids will always be enamored with each other. That's okay, right? But
Mm-hmm.
there's a way to manage that. You have to try and curb that behavior from early, right?
Mm-hmm.
You don't have to get into all the birds and bees conversations with them or whatnot, but just find a different way. You know what I mean? And don't introduce the kid as a gallus, because you're not going to introduce your little daughter as a little girl who have whole heap of boyfriend in a kindergarten. No, you're not gonna do it. So why are you doing it for the boys?
Mm-hmm.
Because later on in life, when them grow up and them a gyal out the thing, right, is somebody else's daughter or somebody else's daughters, right, that are on the receiving end of that behavior.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and you almost in a way too normalize this all man a dog thing. So it's almost like a woman feels like when she grows up, a girl feels like when she grows up that, you know, if our boyfriend or she can't trust a man any at all, which is
Mm-hmm.
horrible, really. And I'm not saying you should get your kids to just willy-nilly trust anybody without, just falling freely.
Right.
No, treat each man based on his own merit, ask the right questions, do whatever research you need to do, but
Mm-hmm.
also be open to the fact that this literally could be Prince Charming and is the real deal, or the flip side of it, him is a dirty dog shit. But at least you are open to both possibilities rather than strongly leaning one way or another. You're willing to treat things based on their own merit. I mean, and there are other little things. So, for example, like I never mentioned it, but as man, we're not express ourselves, we're not express our feelings, or we're told not to, or if not in so many words, you are looked down upon, like feelings. They go, what? You've got tears in your eyes? Are you crazy? Man
Mm-hmm.
can't buy your bad man if it's strong. No, son, no. Sometimes you hurt and you go feel away, shed them tears. And that's part of what keeps us away, like from the doctor or from admitting some kind of vulnerability. So things
Mm-hmm.
like those, I mean, obviously, I think in my estimation, a lot less harmful than abuse, for example,
Right.
or always degrading women and that kind of a thing. But still it can ultimately affect us in a terrible way. So, but you know what? The truth is this, they always use an analogy of a frog, right? If you put a frog in hot water, immediately it's going to try and jump out. But if you put a frog in a pot with warm water and then you slowly increase the temperature, that frog will stay in there until it boils, because it doesn't realize that it's really getting that hot until it's too late, right? And the same thing with us as men. We don't always recognize that the traits of toxic masculinity is affecting the way we parent. Sometimes it needs somebody else to point it out, to be open to the possibility of, being open to admitting
That's
when
true.
it's identified.
I want to highlight, so this is a big question slash comment from one of the silent dads in our Island Mom group. So they're in there, they're quiet, but it's a big one. So it's blocking us all for a while.
Yeah, I never had.
Yeah, so he's never had a father figure in his life. In fact, his father disowned him. 15-year-old daughter. So Nora, maybe you can shed some light here. It's been a struggle on a masculinity topic. I do not get along with men and feel more comfortable with women. Always been a role model. Even to be a good husband to my wife has been a challenge. I applaud you for saying this. You didn't mention your name, and that's cool. That's all good. I think I know who it is, so I won't mention the name. But yeah, what would either of you like to say? And I think this is him as well. That it's been helpful for him to be in the group. So what would either of you have to impart on this gentleman?
You want to go, Noran,
All
or
right.
should
Well,
I?
yeah, man. I'll go. First of all, the ability of making a statement like this in the first place is a big deal. So I think it's good that he's actually saying it. That yeah,
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's
I had
Patrick.
a
He
rough
said his
go
name.
at
He
it, and
just
I
said
don't
it's
know how to
Patrick.
relate.
It's Patrick.
Patrick. Well, Patrick, I thank you for sharing something like that. I know that's probably not easy, and I understand where you say you don't get along with men because you've never had a good physical role model for men. Some people are lucky enough to have like a neighbor or an uncle or a teacher who serves as that good male role model. They can kind of hold on to it and kind of gravitate toward. Excuse me. Not everybody has that. So, Patrick, it's a constant try. It's in try mode, but I think what you might have to do first, give yourself a break. Don't be too hard on yourself because yeah, you had it rough growing up, but you're still in the game, and you need to actually kind of give yourself some points for that. You are still in the game. Worse, no, you have a daughter who is going to find a man who is going to be married to your daughter, hopefully. And then you now have no rule book or playbook to go off of because you have no cliff notes. So you're going off the fly with everything you're doing. And I know it's not going to be easy, but there's nothing wrong with looking around you. Hey, look on television, look on celebrities, look at people who you know that you can say, oh, that guy's a good father. Look at that. Have conversations with those people. Speak to men who you respect, who you can say that have been in their children's lives for a while. Have conversations. The more you are around it, the more it will seep into you. They say water finds its level. After a while, when you start to lose that positive male figure, even around you, some of those behaviors might actually rub off on you, and you can actually then, carry on and pass on to Nata. But he said, "You're a good husband." It's rough, and based on what he typed, I can tell it is rough, and it's probably something that's been eating away at him. So
Yeah.
be a little less hard on yourself, first of all. I appreciate and respect yourself for having the guts to say, "Hey, yeah, this is how my thing." Every
Yeah.
day is an opportunity to try, and even to take a page out of the book of somebody you don't even know. Try it, because that little girl, you are the father figure to that little girl. You are the definition of man to that 15-year-old girl. And even though you didn't have anything to give the definition, The fact is now you're in the game. Sink or
Yeah.
swim, paddle,
Yeah.
fight. Because if you have to make it up as you go along, do it because you are now responsible for not just the life but the mind of that little girl who's going to look up and say, "This is what I think a man should be."
Mm-hmm.
So I use this analogy when I saw it a few years ago. It says, if your daughter came to you and said, "Daddy, I met somebody today and he's just like you," would that make you frightened? Would that make you
Mm-hmm.
embarrassed, or would it make you happy?
Mm-hmm.
And that's something that I like to play in my head quite a bit because would you would
Yeah.
you be like saying, "Oh my goodness, she can't be with somebody like me"? So
Mm-hmm.
use those little tips and tricks as guides in terms of how you can best be the best father
Mm-hmm.
and the best husband, and they'll feed off each other. You just make sure that you're drinking from the right source.
Mm-hmm. Thank you so much for
Yeah.
that comment, Patrick. Garth, what you want to contribute? Something?
Yeah, Noran basically said it all. The only thing I'd add is you have to keep the lines of communication open. So one, I would hope that you have been working on building a relationship with your daughter from the get-go, from birth to now,
Mm-hmm.
because one of the most important things that teenagers need. I mean, I don't have a teenager yet; she's 11, right? But she pretty much come to me with everything. You know what I mean? There's some mom female stuff that she handles with her mom, and I realize that she kind of not really want to touch it with me. But that aside, right?
Mm-hmm.
Um, the most important thing is having that relationship. If you guys are cool with each other, she understand that you are still a disciplinarian. She understand that there are still rules, right?
Mm-hmm.
But that aside, she knows say she can reach out to you, she can talk to you. That's pretty much what she needs most. An
Mm-hmm.
open line of communication with the opposite sex, with the example of what a man should be in her life, because you are there in the house. You know what I mean? So keep those lines of communication open. And as Noran said, don't beat up yourself too much. As it relates to being a good husband, the same argument, the same advice about keeping the lines of communication open, right? Them say, what you do for get, you have to do for keep, right? So whatever you did to convince this lovely lady to A, be in a relationship with you, B, marry you, C, have a youth with you, right? Then keep doing those things, my brother. Keep
Mm-hmm.
on doing those things. It also is a process of really understanding her too. I can't say I fully understand my wife, but I know some of the things that make her tick and some of the things that,
Mm-hmm.
make her want to throw me off a cliff, right? So on the latter, I avoid those things and I try to
Mm-hmm.
do more of the things that really put a smile on her face. At the end of the day, what a woman really wants from her husband is to be loved, is to be respected, is to feel secure, is to know
Mm-hmm.
that she can rely on him and he can rely on her. Is
Mm-hmm.
to know that they can share a light moment together and they can manage challenges together as well. There's a longer list than that, but I think
Mm-hmm.
those things probably rank in the top 10, right? Um, but making sure that the lines of communication are open with each other is good. Also, the fact that you admitted tonight, your vulnerability or your feeling of vulnerability or putting yourself in a vulnerable position to express yourself the way you did, you have to do that with your wife as well. Make her know, babes, I don't have all the answers. I'm not reading from a playbook at the moment. As Noran said, I'm doing it on the fly, right? So sometimes I'm going to get it wrong, sometimes I'm going to get it right. I need you to help me, you know um if she had a good relationship with her father or had a good example of a father, then she can advise you too. And preferably not in front of the child. She can pull you aside and say, yo, Patrick, you're all go on. So on, 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 right? And you just be
Mm-hmm.
willing to try it as well. You're gonna make some mistakes, but be willing to admit to those and always be willing to improve. You have to learn to improve. And that's
Mm-hmm.
just, what I'd add.
I want to highlight a comment here from Jody asking us to bring you guys back and thanking Patrick for his honesty and that she's learned a lot, which is amazing. That's the point of
Thank
these
you, Patrick.
sessions. So I want to go into another question for you guys. And it's a hot topic, and we kind of touched on it lightly a little bit earlier. I want to talk about parental alienation. So the concept, and I think that's just basically just a technical term of keeping one parent or the other parent away from the kids, and how it is very systematic, like mentioning certain things to the child about the other parent, those kind of issues. And this is another hot topic that we tend to debate about quite a bit in Island Mom. There are even groups on Island, not on Island Mom, but on Facebook that are basically focused on parental alienation. I want to highlight an Island Mom who started her own group and her own movement in Canada, Chevanisi Brown. She's doing some amazing things in Canada, but because of her own story and how she has been alienated from her son. But I want to bring it up, and I want us to just touch on it briefly, because I want to open up for any more questions or comments that may come up from the folks watching. But what are your thoughts on parental alienation? Let's take it with who answered
I'll
last.
take.
Noran, you going? Yeah, you
I
go
answered
first.
last.
Okay. Oh,
I'll
well,
go. I'll go. I'll go.
yeah.
Parental alienation. It is. Let's look at it for what it is. It is an emotional response to the state of the relationship between both parents.
Mhm.
It is intentional. It can be mean spirited. It can be because the other person's lack of ability to create a safe environment. So there are many things it could be, but in all respects, it is mostly dangerous
Mhm.
because you run not just denying this child access to their other parental figure, but
Mhm.
you are controlling the narrative of how that sees that other parental figure, which could be false, it could be dangerous, but at the same time, it could be true. It could be that yeah, your mom or your dad are not good people. I don't want you around that. They don't have good ways. I don't want you around that. Or the flip side of, well, he cheated on me. I'm upset. So he's never, I'm going to use this to spite him. Or
Mhm.
she
Mm-hmm.
cheated on me. I'm going to use this to spite her. It is always emotional. Sorry,
Mhm.
not all. The most part, I think
No,
it's
most
emotional.
times.
And people find ways to justify anything they want. But if you have to look at it also that it's selfish. On some degree, it is selfish because you have decided that you are not going to have that child see their other parent because you are upset. Did you stop to
Mhm.
think that maybe the child wants to know their mother, they want to know their father,
Mhm.
wants to know their other siblings that they might have? So
Mhm.
yes, I understand that it's an emotional issue, but you have to look at it as you being emotional, and that your emotions might be robbing that child, children,
Mhm.
of the right they have to know their other parental figure.
Mhm.
If it was a one-time thing and I don't know where he is in life, that's a different story. But if you're separated or you know that the parent is 2 minutes around the road or live in another county, the fact is you should let that parent see their children.
Mhm.
Now I understand once money gets involved, it becomes a completely different ballgame, and I understand that. Whether it's fair or not, I understand that money does have a very significant impact on the relationship between parent and child. So if it's a case where the man is not contributing or the woman is not contributing in any way, not even time, then I understand if a parent doesn't want to have their child around the other parental figure. But it is still, on some degree, selfish. You have to have the ability to step out of your emotion and ask yourself, is what I'm doing right for the child?
Mhm.
Am I actually making the child suffer because I'm upset about something or I feel incensed about something?
Mhm.
If you don't have that ability to separate those two and look at it logic versus emotion, then you are doing the child a disservice.
Right. Garth, I want to
Um,
shift the question just a little. I want you to answer, but I wanted to ask you to address how possibly the system is unbalanced and more favoring towards the mother where parental alienation is concerned.
all right. Just to add one little thing.
Mm-hmm.
Um, to the original question, and then I get onto the system. Um, when it comes to your granting permission or custody or some kind of interaction between your child and the other parent, and sometimes
Mhm.
invariably the father, just go with logic. If it is that it don't make sense that this child sees the parent in a certain environment because you don't want particular negative behaviors or comments to be registered with the child, then find a way to get the environment in which they see the child controlled. So it may mean that it's in the presence of a social worker or something of the sort, right? But
Mhm.
it's still important for the child to see the father or the other parent. Don't, as Noran put it, don't be guided by emotion on this. Be guided by logic. That's
Mhm.
always the best way to go. Logically, the child, the best thing for the child is to have interaction with both parents. We're not even talking about the ideal situation. We know what the ideal situation is, right?
Yeah.
But we live in a world where idealism just does not always follow, right? So control the environment, but still
Mhm.
allow the child to see the parent, right? Now, as it relates to the system, we have to remember that sadly, we're coming from a bit of a patriarchal societal setup.
Mhm.
Um, and it kind of goes back to a bit of toxic masculinity as well, because it's almost a bit of overcompensation for
Mhm.
the way women have been treated. The fact that women were kept at home and you raise the kids, you do the cooking, you take care of the domestic space, I do all
Mhm.
the industrial stuff out the road, right? So women are the caregivers, the nurturers, and as a result of that, the system is skewed towards the women because it is assumed that the women will give better care than the men. Now,
Mhm.
it is definitely more likely that women will give better care. But what is that better care? I think it's coming from the fact that women carried the child in them as a part of their whole being and then birthed the child, right?
Mhm.
That they suckled the child. And probably would have been more involved in all the intimate details of the child's life, certainly as a newborn, than the father would have been. Certainly, they
Mhm.
would have spent more time falling asleep maybe on a breast, or being fed from a bottle by a woman or by the mother. Hence, the system makes that assumption. But fine if the system wants to make that assumption, or the people who created the system made that assumption. What it should not do is penalize men in the way that it
Mhm.
does. So the standards that a man has to meet in order to see his children, because he's separated from the mother, are so high, whereas for the woman it is not as high, significantly lower, I would
Mhm.
say.
Mhm.
And that contributes a lot, because what happens now is when you have this emotional response from the women, and I just in the case of a woman, we have that emotional response, then she can kind of weaponize the system, and use that to really drive a wedge and say, see there, the
Mhm.
court say so on, so on, so on, so on, so on. So I'm
Mhm.
not saying that in every case a father supposed to have easy access to the youth then, because again, if he's got a lot of negative traits and behaviors, then you really don't want to have the youth around him. But it can happen in a controlled environment. So it could very well be that you say, boy, Your Honor, it's not that I don't want him city youth, I just don't want him city youth upon him own. I don't
Mhm.
want him spend a weekend with him like that. 10 hours or 8 hours on a Saturday with a social worker, 8 hours on a Sunday or 6 hours on a Sunday with a social worker, they can live with. But the weekend thing, sleep over all them something there, no,
Mhm.
no, no. And I get that. But I think the system has to, or those who can adjust the system now, need to take a look at the current space in which we live, the current state of the world,
Mhm.
and think through how do we alter the standards to be fairer, so that good men are not kept away, or good parents are not kept away from their children because of the co-parent or the other parent
Mhm.
being upset and having an emotional or a purely emotional
Mhm.
response to a separation.
Well, that's a perfect way to segue into the evolving father. Because if the system is willing to look at the current space, realize that that the roles, like you, both of you guys are in the kitchen. You're both very active in the kitchen. You are both very nurturing in your own rights. But how can we progress more in terms of progress that evolution of the father? Noran, you can take this first. Or how, let me rephrase
All
it.
right.
How do you
The
see the role
best
of the
way to
father evolving?
I see it evolving by first step being okay with evolving.
Mm-hmm.
Being okay with the fact that yeah, I do go in the kitchen or I do talk to my child and hug my child, or the reverse, I do get stirred in my child and say, listen, feelings are great, but you have a responsibility, so do what you have to do. You know, you have to be okay with doing it, otherwise, it's going to be disingenuous and it's going to show. And if it's showing, it's probably going to be less effective than you'd like. So as far as the evolving father, be okay. Don't be concerned with how it looks to other people. If it works for you and your child,
Mm-hmm.
do it. If it's a departure from what you're accustomed to, you have to be willing to stick to it.
Right.
So if you come if you come from a kind of nurturing environment that is man not supposed to do in the kitchen, that's woman business, or you must go out and do the work because you are the man. If that is how you have been raised and that's how you feel strongly, then that's how you are. Don't feel what you're not. But
Mm-hmm.
at the same time, on some level, switch it up and see what works. You have to also respect yourself. You
Mm-hmm.
have to have that self respect of this is the best way for me to be for my child. Not how I think everybody will like me better or how I think it's going to come across or impress this person or these people because I'm this type of that. No, it has to be about you and your child or children, your situation. So as far as evolving, it is happening. You can be traditional but still not be the absolute traditional father. You know, like I said, do what works for you. What be prepared to stick to it.
Mm-hmm.
If you try something that doesn't work and you try something else, that's fine.
Right.
But make sure that you have a plan. Make sure you understand exactly what you're trying to achieve by being this type of, and then you go from there.
And Garth?
Yeah, I think I mentioned it somewhere towards the top of the show in terms of the evolution I'm seeing, where first and foremost, I think we're seeing a lot more examples of good fathers now. I
Mm-hmm.
don't know necessarily that it's because we have more good fathers, but because we have, or rather because we have more media to share the stories of good fathers, right?
Mm-hmm.
Um, so where that is concerned, um,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, my wife's in the office now. I wanted some water.
Hi.
I'm not sure if you can see her. There she is.
Hi. She's like, why
See,
are
they're
you
saying
showing
hi,
me
Dominic.
right
You should wave. You should wave. All right, you just wave. All right, good stuff. Right, but yeah. So it could be a combination of the two. One, we're seeing there are more good fathers around.
now?
And two, there is a greater proliferation of media, so we're going to see more of those stories. Um,
Mm-hmm.
we see more fathers taking their kids to school,
Yeah.
which has always been happening. We're just seeing more of it. I think also why we're probably seeing more, or there is an existence of more good fathers, because society is demanding more. Women are demanding more from
Mm-hmm.
fathers to step up to the plate, to do the right things. I think
Mm-hmm.
we've seen lots of examples and research where absentee fathers have just been wreaking havoc in our society,
Mm-hmm.
because of the homes where some of our troubled members of society come from. Not that the solid homes don't produce some of them too, because the truth is this: coming from a solid home with a shitty dad is probably going to make you a shitty person. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Um, but
Mhm.
there is that. So there is a higher demand from society. Society is like, hey, no, 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 quit this. You have to do better. You must do better. And then I think what I said earlier in the show is that fathers who fathers who had good dads
Mm-hmm.
want to emulate those good characteristics, right?
Mm-hmm.
Fathers who had bad dads want to depart from those bad characteristics and bad practices and then deliver better for their
Mm-hmm.
children.
Mm-hmm.
So I think those are the things which are shaping the evolution. What for me it signals is that when my son becomes a father, with the increased societal pressure to do better, with the job I'm doing, hopefully it's a great enough job that he says, so I rate my father more and be like him as a dad.
Mm-hmm.
Um, then he fatherhood will be at such a level that we have a higher functioning society. Um,
Mm-hmm.
so it can only get better from here, as
Yeah.
far as I'm concerned. It can only get better. I think a forum such as this, I think groups such as this, um, help to increase the likelihood of improved fatherhood or evolved fatherhood, because the
Mm-hmm.
more information you have, the more discussions you can have, the more people like Patrick who can admit their put themselves in a position of vulnerability and admit their shortcomings,
Mm-hmm.
right, and be willing and open to learning, to evolving,
Mm-hmm.
then it can only get better from here.
Yeah. I want to say that Island Mom, as much as it's Island Mom, we do have an Island Dad. Island Dad is quiet though; they're not active at all. So we have opened up Island Mom to dads. They're very quiet. They're mostly observant. Every now and again, they'll chime in and they'll say something in the comments, or I'll get private messages, or they'll ask for like an anonymous post. But if anybody wants to join as a father, feel free. We're gonna screen you though. We screen our members. We go through an approval process. We're not letting everybody in. So we do screen our members. But we have to. We have a lot of
Of course, of course, of course.
Persian, Middle Eastern men looking for wives. I'm not even joking. Like we get lots
Oh
of
yeah.
we get lots of requests. But I just want to highlight that Patrick said thank you, enough respect to both of you gentlemen.
Yeah, man, big up, brother, big up.
Folks are asking for a part two, guys. I had put it into the private chat. I don't know if you guys would be available next week. I actually approached another dad who I wanted to bring in for a part two, because all of this is leading up to Father's Day, which is next week, Sunday. And I do hope that we will continue with these conversations. There was another comment I wanted to highlight. This is from Tanisha. Great to see our fathers active in dialogue. I think the thing is that you guys are active. You guys have these conversations. When I'm around you, these are the conversations that tend to pop up naturally. They're organic. It's just that we don't, as women, we're not necessarily seeing them in our own spaces. And what's interesting is, and this came up in a conversation with Karen Carpenter some time ago in another broadcast, was that when men come to her, one of the biggest things that they say is that they just want someone to listen to them. So in terms of creating an environment where men feel comfortable to express themselves is, I think, absolutely crucial as well. Jody is asking if these men are in Island Mom group. Jody, what are your intentions? I'm vetting. Jody, if you're not in Island Mom group already, then we need to talk. You're on the page, you're not in the group. What are your intentions? I have to vet. I care for these men deeply. I would like to say, what you saying, Garth? What you saying?
Yeah, so to answer the question about availability for next week, I mean, I'm always willing to participate. I'm good with a bar talk. I'm good with a TV interview. I'm good online, wherever. We just want to say, yeah, we can have these conversations. The other thing is, I can make a little plug. Make a
Yeah,
little plug.
yes, please
All
plug.
right.
They're like, they want
So a group of
Jody want you in
fathers.
a group. Jody want you in the group. Like, I know Noran is. Noran is, he's a silent dad in the group. He's in there, very quiet.
Yeah, sure, I
Yes,
can.
sir.
Garth, I'm almost sure you were in the
Um,
group already. But yes, plug. Garth, plug away.
oh, okay, cool.
And we have
Um,
a
uh, uh,
question. There's a question in the comments. So, what were you saying, Garth?
yeah, so sure. I've got three good friends. The four of us are all fathers, and we're getting together to do a thing called the Jamaican Dads Podcast, which is, as the name suggests, is a podcast for dads. Yeah, big up, respect. Um, so we go live on Father's Day, June 21, and then we release new episodes every fortnight thereafter. We're in the production phase right now. We've recorded a couple of episodes already, but we're also keeping our eyes open to see what's going on so that we can dedicate episodes to current affairs,
Mm-hmm.
obviously related to fatherhood. We'll be available on a wide variety of platforms where podcasts can be found. Spotify, Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts, Stitcher, and a couple others, as well as YouTube. And we'll have a Facebook page and other social media platforms as well. It's Jamaican Dads with a Z. Um, and for us, it's just to create a safe space to ventilate issues related to men, masculinity, and fatherhood in particular. And we'll invite guests from time to time to
Love that.
participate in the discussions. Yeah, and the truth is, it came out of literally we were hanging out. We've been friends for years. We're hanging out a couple of times, just chatting. Two of them, their children are just about a year and a half old. I'm the veteran with an 11-year-old and a 7-year-old. The other dad has a child who is 7, a son who is 7. I'm the
Mm-hmm.
only one with a daughter. Everybody have sons. Um, and they were constantly on my phone from mommy pregnant straight to the day of birth,
Yeah.
right? Um, and we all recognize that when it comes to parenthood, the lion's share of information about parenthood is written by women for women,
Mm-hmm.
with dads making a cameo. You know, we don't have a lot of dad centric information out there.
Mm-hmm.
So we thought it would be, especially for Jamaicans. So we said, you know what, let's do this. We have the platforms, we have a decent enough social media following. So we said, let's just do this. So we kick off, as I said, June 21, sorry, Father's Day.
Mm-hmm.
Every fortnight afterwards. So you can just look out for us on your platforms soon with some ads and stuff like that.
Well, share the link with me. I'll definitely
Yep,
put it in a group as well.
yep,
I'm sure they
absolutely.
Oh
want
yeah,
to
certainly,
get
certainly.
sharing it with their partners. There's a question here. It's another long one. Let me just bring it up. Where do you draw the line when it comes to a situation where the wife would like to help the father and nudge the father to motivate the father to become an evolving father, and he isn't always willing mentally? Or let me say this: suggestions to empower my husband to be the better man he can be. Um,
Mm.
Mm.
Noran, you want to take this first?
Yeah, I'll take this first. I'm looking at the wording she used,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm making some suppositions. I could be wrong, so forgive me if I'm wrong. She used the word nudge,
Mm-hmm.
and I think she used the word nudge because either he has said you're nagging me, or she feels like she's nagging him, or maybe he's done something that makes her think that he thinks she's nagging.
Mm-hmm.
So I figure that's why I choose the word nudge. If he appears to be nagged, if he appears to be bothered, then you have to ask yourself, the dad I want him to be,
Mm-hmm.
is it what I want him to be in terms of the best he can be? Is in terms of meaning is she using her own eyes in terms of the best dad that she thinks he could be? Is she realistically looking at his personality to see if this is something that he's capable of?
Mm-hmm.
Is it that what she wants is more than he's willing to give or even should give?
Or can give.
Are her require or can give? Are her requirements
Mm.
realistic?
Mm-hmm.
I don't know the answer to these questions, but I think she should ask these questions first because the way she answers those questions might actually change how
Yes,
she.
he's bothered.
Mm-hmm.
Yep, that's right. He's bothered.
Mm-hmm.
So it could be he's bothered because maybe the tone of voice she uses makes him feel judged, or he's accustomed to probably being judged by other people. So when it's coming from his wife, it hurts a little more. You know, there are ways that she can get from him where he is before she even starts to put on the nudging him and pushing him. Because
Mm-hmm.
the fact is, are you pushing him to what you want him to be?
Mm-hmm.
Are you doing it from a selfish motivation? Are you doing it from a realistic motivation? So once she can answer those questions, then she can probably, then it might actually come naturally what she can do to push him.
Mm-hmm.
Does he feel like being pushed? Does he think he needs to be pushed? Maybe she should ask him that first.
Mm-hmm.
Ask him if he thinks he's being the best dad he can be and watch him answer that question himself. And that might
Mm-hmm.
open up a conversation where she might get a better idea as to exactly what his mind is thinking.
Mm-hmm.
So that would be my advice.
Because if he's satisfied in his
Um,
current role, then what more can you do? Garth, your turn.
yeah, I'm. So I always recommend counseling, to be honest. That's just me.
Mm-hmm.
Because if he is bothered, um, it you may need professional intervention.
Mm-hmm.
He's bothered because probably he's just emotionally tired of hearing from her, which again for me signals that what you need now is an external source, not a family member, because you don't want him feel like you're chatting with people
Keep being
like
ganged
that.
up on.
You understand,
Mm-hmm.
right? And it's some kind of intervention. Oh, hey, listen, Tony, we've gathered you here today because nah, right? What you probably need is professional intervention. Um, but don't force that. I mean, obviously the situation is different. She's trying the counseling, which is a good
Mm-hmm.
step, right?
Mm-hmm.
Don't force it on him. Um, uh, well, you start the process already, so it's good that he's at least open to it. Also, allow for some one-on-one sessions, so you don't always have to be there, right? My other thing is, I always encourage people or discourage people from using a counselor who is religious, right? Um,
Mm-hmm. I
yeah,
actually agree with that
yeah,
significantly. Yes.
um, yeah.
Why
Because
though? Why?
100% agree.
yeah, right. So invariably, religious counselors um, tend to lead people into a direction of God, right? Um, as God is the solution, or God must be a part of the solution. And the truth is, let us say, for example, if let's say one member of this group is just not religiously inspired, right?
Mm-hmm.
Then you're going to turn them off. You know what I mean? So you're going to lose the message because of the background of the messenger, right? Now, I'm not knocking religion in this particular instance. That's not what I'm doing, right? But I would go with somebody who is not religious, somebody who will stick squarely to logic and just
Logic.
keeping it within the realm of logic, right?
Mm-hmm.
Um, because the gentleman must recognize or needs to recognize that, hey, the mother of my child and who's my wife genuinely has an issue with the delivery of my parenting skills or practice, right?
Right.
Therefore, I have a duty to at least look into myself and recognize that there might be a way for me to change things. Also, if there are solutions, then the counselor should be able to kind of identify what the problem is and recommend solutions as well.
Mm-hmm.
It has to appeal to his logic. The fact that he's bothered already rule out any kind of moral suasion, right? It has to just make sense. Now, truth is, I don't think I have all the answers here either. Every situation is different based on its own merit. What I'm hoping for is that the counseling can work, because otherwise you may be faced with a tough and unfortunate decision to make whether
Mhm.
to remain in the relationship.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I'd like to what Garth is saying. Job of logic and how I feel and think. The fact that he feels judged from both outside and inside, his wall of defense is already up 10 feet high, 10 feet wide. So
Mm-hmm.
understand that You trying to
Yeah.
and throw everything
Yeah.
at him. While I understand why you're doing it, you could actually be making it worse because he gets to the stage of resigning himself to say, well, no matter what I do, I'm a shitty husband or I'm wrong anyway, so why
Mm.
bother? And if he checks out mentally like that, you
Yeah.
have a hard job to try and open that door. So the fact is, if he feels judged, talk to him about the judgment he feels. Ask him exactly what he thinks people are thinking about him. Ask him exactly how he feels about his judgment. He's gonna shut you down first 3, 4, 5, 6 times. But if he gets the feeling that you genuinely want to know, because hey, if I'm judging you, or if you feel judged by me, that wasn't my intention. Let me know why. Let me know what I said and how it triggered you and how you felt. Talk
Mm.
about yourselves. Talk first, and I think that will start the road to okay, now that you've realized what I may want from you, how do you feel about it? Do you think it's going to help the child, etc., etc.? Start the ball, start the stone at the top of the snow hill until it gets to this giant snowball. But don't just go to, oh, you should be this kind of person because
Mhm.
he's going to shut down, guaranteed. Because all he's going to think is, no matter what I do, I'm wrong. No matter
Mhm.
what I do, I'm a, and then whatever judgment he's probably being given, I guarantee you, in his brain, he's added about 10 layers to it. So somebody might be saying, oh, spend enough time with your son. His interpretation is going to be, oh, so I'm a piece of shit father
Mhm.
who clearly don't know nothing. So he's going to be in just such an emotional state that sometimes logic may not even sink in where it needs to. So have the talk with him, talk to him, not at him, to him,
Mhm.
about him. Don't make it about you. Try not to make it about you. You can insert how you feel, but don't make it about you because if you can pull it out of him, I think it will start the
See it
process.
there.
Mhm.
All right. Yeah. See that
Yeah.
now. He has shut me out. Even a lot of cynicism towards everything spoken today. So, yo, he's way down the wicket now. You know, he's
Mm.
way down the wicket in
Him
terms of the defense.
down, him
Yeah. 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 He's way down the wicket. I
he
would.
he has walled himself like this, and you can't
Yeah.
get inside. That's what he's doing right
Mhm.
now.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
Yeah.
now the fact is, if you want, you have to you have to tease him out. You have to tease him out. Make him
Mhm.
feel that you actually give a shit about what's going on in his mind. That's the only way you're going to be able to pull it.
True. True. That's true. Um, it's unfortunate that he's at this point too.
Mhm.
Um, I mean, I don't want to say, but this is a tough one. This is definitely going to be a tough one for you.
Yeah,
There's no,
yeah.
there's no straightforward or easy route back to normalcy. Once he is gone there, no, it's not beyond hope though. Not beyond
Correct.
hope. No,
It's not beyond. Not
I don't
beyond
think
hope.
we're at that point because the fact that
It's
he
still there
is
is hope.
he's right. The fact that he still has an opinion, even on the things said today, despite it being cynical, there is care. He does
Mhm.
care. He's
Mhm.
just not hearing what he wants to hear.
Yes.
You
Mhm.
understand me?
Mhm.
But he does care. Worry if he just goes blank and apathetic. If he has no response, no feeling anymore, nothing gets him even angry, then yeah, done him, just resign him, just pull the plug and just going through the motions. But the fact that
Mhm.
he still has cynicism, even that, then it means
It's
there's something
something.
still tugging on him. Yeah, there's still something tugging on him. But I think Noran had mentioned it in his first response to the question, excuse me, that does he have the capacity? Because that's the other side of it too, you know.
Mhm.
Does he currently have the capacity to be a better man, a better father, a better husband, right? Also, what is the picture of success? What does a better man look like? What does a better husband look like?
Mhm.
What does a better father look like? Are there particular things that you want to see, or not even so much you want to see, but are there particular things that really should be in place that aren't? Because the truth is this: if he is feeling that he's delivering these things, then you asking for more is really just like added pressure.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Also, what is important is how he sees what a better man looks like, or a good man, a good father, a good husband. What he has to clearly outline in some kind of conversation, whether with you or the counselor, right? He must outline what a good father is. What is a good father? What does a good father do? And then reconcile that list with his deliveries, you
Mm-hmm.
know? Um, because again, if let us say he identifies 5 things that a good father should be or do, and he's delivering 3 or 4 of those things, he's not too far off. Same thing for the
Mm-hmm.
other qualities of being a good man and being a good husband. If
Mm-hmm.
he's delivering 60-70%, he's not too far off. So
Mm-hmm.
the room for improvement is small. The ultimate aim, though, is to reduce that room for improvement to an even smaller size. So those are some of the questions you may have to give or things you may have to give consideration to.
And I'll say something tough in the sense that it doesn't mean that he has to be locked into being the ultimate husband and the ultimate father simultaneously. It could mean that if he can be the best husband he can be, maybe that's it. Maybe he's reached his limit, you know? Maybe he can
Yeah,
be
But
the best father in a different situation too.
yeah.
You're saying something, Nora?
I want to add something. Yeah, I want to add something. Let's break it down very technically.
Mm-hmm.
Everything that we've been talking about sounds like it is her opinion of what a good husband father should be. She
Mm-hmm.
has to
Right.
be very careful that she's not trying to push her opinion as fact and law, because he'll worse check out then, because you've not even given him the consideration of if you're a good father. You're saying it doesn't work for me, the woman, therefore this is what you should be, and you're not what I think you should be. Because she stopped and said, hold on, am I trying to impose and impart my way of things should be on
Mm-hmm.
him? Be very careful. And also, and this goes for men and women, but for women all the time. Tone has a lot to do with how your words are received.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So even if you don't think he's being the best father he could be, the way you say it to him could either have respond to you, tell me more, baby, or who you think you're talking to. Could be
Mm-hmm.
one of you. You have to be very careful. I know your tone might be informed by your impatience with him or in general, or your strong nature and how you think she should be. But understand you're still talking to a man. You're still talking to a human being. And if
Mm-hmm.
you want him to respect you enough to listen to you, you have to make sure
Right.
that your delivery to him is respectful as well. And
Mm-hmm.
sometimes in being angry because she has the best of intentions, which is a better parent for my child. But understand that along the way, there are a lot of peaks and valleys that if you're not careful, that tone you use puts him automatically at defense and you're just talking to a brick wall
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
because he doesn't feel like you respect him enough to
Mm-hmm.
respect him.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Yeah.
So right
Yeah,
There
there.
she said.
right there. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. 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 Which is exactly what Noran just pointed out. In
Mm-hmm.
terms of tone. Because it's not always the what you say, it's the how.
Yeah.
That can get you the result you need versus the opposite. um, so what I would encourage you to do in that case, given
Mm-hmm.
that you have admitted to using a bit of anger due to past issues, 2 things I would recommend. One, don't reference past issues, right? Whatever it is, don't bring that up, right? I would also recommend that you admit where it's a balance. I'm trying to ensure. Right? Okay, good. Um, Admit that your approach may have been abrasive, and you can see where he would have been offended, um, and you want to do better, right? Um, if you share those
Ah, that's it.
ideas, then yeah, that would go a far way, because
Mhm.
he might not say it, but I know he must be listening out for it. And that's not a man perspective. That's just a human
Yeah.
perspective,
Yeah.
right? If you just think about it, when somebody approaches you with anger, and when somebody consistently refers to a past situation or blames the anger on a past situation, then it's going to throw you off. And in order for you to move forward, you want to see from them some level of admission,
Mhm.
maybe remorse, but definitely admission. And then a willingness to push forward without the old references, and focusing squarely on how you can really shape things together. But I like the fact that you are open, and you understand that probably your tone has, hurt the way forward,
Mhm.
and that you need to make the adjustment. But you're also willing to push through, because it's clear that you don't want to give up, right?
Right.
Um, and you there is still hope. I personally believe there is still hope.
Wow. Well, this
So do I.
has been amazing. If there are any last questions, please drop them into the comments. We have gone almost 2 hours. Almost 2 hours.
And we
It's,
could go at 2 hours more.
we could, if there was alcohol
True,
involved.
true.
But I want to say a big thank you, because we're gonna be back. We're gonna be back for part two. I'll confirm this date with you guys if this works, but regardless, I'm holding this as a date for part two. And regardless, you guys would be coming
Sure.
back. You're coming back. I've approached another dad as well to be involved in our conversation next week. So I'll make that announcement coming closer. There is, and our participant says thank you.
Yeah, man, you're welcome. You're welcome.
Yeah.
Sure.
But I want to thank you guys. Thank you so much for being on the Dad Debate, our first in Island Mom After Dark. And thank you to the folks who viewed. Thank you so much to Patrick, to Daniel, who had said her name earlier as well, and to anybody who had tuned in. Of course, this is going to be available for replay, and you'll be able to watch it as well on YouTube if you want to, on the Island Mom YouTube channel. Y'all need to go over there and subscribe to it, okay? Like it's been there for years,
Man,
but I only just started putting stuff up on it. Me and digital producer and all of them something, but yeah, no. Oh, here's a
we'll do it.
question.
We'll do it.
Joey says, thumbs up, guys. Joey, I'm going to be looking for you in the Island Mom group member of requests. So, and we have a
Yeah, man, big
question.
up Jordan.
We have a question. Whoever said that they're late, you guys can watch again soon. It will be available for replay. Whoa, that one's heavy. How do you compare it?
Wow.
That's a heavy one. It's heavy.
Ah,
Yeah. I think
First piece of
we
advice.
kind of,
First piece of advice.
yeah.
Get everything in writing. Put everything black and white. Save every WhatsApp conversation. Save every
Yep.
text message. Make sure you have all the evidence, because at some point in time, it's going to be your word against theirs. The fact that you've used the word vindictive means that it's already a soured situation. So
mhm.
the best thing to do is protect yourself. What did you and I learn from our boss a long time ago?
Oh,
Nothing
Cover your
exists unless it's
ass.
in black and white.
yeah,
That's
yep.
right.
Yeah.
That's right.
Cover
That's right.
your ass. CYA.
Yep.
So here's the
Yep.
thing about
Mhm.
vindictive nature. No matter what you do, you're that venom towards you. You could be the sweetest person, or you could be the most aggressive person back to them. You're always gonna get that vindictive venom and vitriol against it. You see this thing
Yep.
here?
Mhm.
This is your friend, because you see that little record button? Record every interaction,
Mhm.
whether on video or if you have it in your top pocket so you can get the audio. Protect yourself. Because if
Mhm.
that person is getting to the stage where you calling them vindictive, it means that you must expect anything.
Mhm. Yeah.
Expect any possible thing.
Yeah.
That's my advice.
Yeah, I've seen this turn on itself in
Yeah.
court where it
The only thing
favors,
to say,
it will
I just want
shift.
to strengthen that point. Do not have any.
Oh, we have a slight delay. What I was just saying is that I've seen this whole thing turn in favor of the father in court because he has kept things in, like he's kept his records, he's kept things in writing, he's taken pictures. Because we know that the court system is skewed towards the mother. We spoke about that a little earlier. So if the dad is really active and involved, you have to keep everything in writing. Garth, you're saying something.
Yeah, I was just about to say, do not have any conversations unless it's recorded. Um, as Noran pointed out, if it's in person, turn on your audio, your audio recorder. If you're going to have a phone conversation, well, I don't know the phone part if you can record them someday, but try find one way, right? Use voice notes. I don't know. Try just avoid anything that is informal that you cannot capture. You understand me? Even if it's to write it down and have them sign one piece of paper to say, yes, me did say this or no, me never said that. Something, but record it. Rather than go WhatsApp video call, go Zoom and record it. Right? Fine. I'm serious. Make sure, say, you have a record of every interaction. As a matter of fact, cut out the phone call. Just go straight Zoom and done. Right? You don't need to use up the whole heap of data with your video. Just go audio, right? And record that conversation. Download it, save it somewhere, because you're gonna need it. The flip side of it, well, the other side of it, is ensure that you, as much as possible, keep a social worker involved in the situation, so that if push come to shove, right, then that person's evidence, that person's knowledge of the situation can become very helpful should a custody battle be on the cards, right? And especially if you're having interactions with the child, them alone with the child, yeah, you might want to ensure, say, you have that kind of covered from that angle. But as much as possible, try to keep it away from the child. So in some cases, it might not be possible, to be honest, but as much as possible, try to keep it away from the child. The child deserves to know what's going on. The child doesn't need to know all of this, or have to deal with, I should say, all of this. I don't know the age of the child or children, but them no need to have that added to them head, because guess what happened? Them love mommy and them love daddy, and to see both parents at pardon me at odds with each other, might just do more harm than anything else. So as much as possible, try to keep it out of the sphere of the child.
We have well, okay, does it have to be a appointed social worker or can it be a friend?
I would really go with the
I think it's best
social
to have it
worker
as
more than a
somebody
friend.
neutral.
Yeah.
Neutral.
Friend,
You
yeah,
don't
man,
want to
friend of a draw
give
side.
it bias.
And this question, I'm not so sure exactly what this was. If you can make it out.
This was in response to what we're saying about taping everything.
Right, I think so, yeah.
Well, as she says, as the person says at the end of it, nothing at this point in time, if it's that much of a bad situation, then don't consider anything private, because as long as legally, because I mean, you don't want to end up worrying about defamation and things of that nature with everything. And I think, correct me if I'm wrong, but even in Jamaica, if you are taped without your consent, yes, because if you're taped without your consent, then I think it might be inadmissible, or it's considered illegal.
It can't be used.
But I also believe that sometimes it's better to ask forgiveness than permission.
Good point.
Because based on the situation, even if it's not legal, you didn't tell them you were being taped, the person's action does leave some kind of effect on the whether it's the judiciary or the police or the family or whatever. Them can say, yeah, you never tell her you're being recorded, but we saw her throw the knife across the room at you, or we saw you, him push you there. So
Yeah.
leave yourself as protected as possible. Yeah, you might get a slap on the wrist for some things, but it's better a slap on the wrist than something worse.
Yeah.
And again, if you have to let cooler heads prevail, try it,
Mhm.
but understand that cooler heads prevailing is not necessarily going to work every time. Because if the person is worse, if the person feels, incensed by the other person and is reacting out of that aggression, you're already out the window.
Yeah.
Somebody has to head to be able to say, you know what, I'm leaving now. Before this gets any worse, I will speak to you or I'll speak to you through my attorney, whatever the case may be. Because in reality, some situations are just ugly.
Mhm.
There are
Yeah.
some situations that are just ugly beyond fixing.
Mhm.
So the best thing to do is find a way to work with the ugliness to get it away from being ugly, or just work with it as it is. Just
Yeah.
keeping yourself covered.
Wow. Well, I have to thank everybody for the comments, the questions. I have to thank you guys for the time because I didn't expect that we'd be going this long, but it has definitely been a very, very good conversation. And we will be back. We'll be back next week for another the dad debate. And we're gonna go hard again next week with some more interesting topics. If you guys have any questions ahead of that conversation, feel free to drop them into the comments on this video or message me. Um, Sometimes I don't see that hidden inbox on Facebook, so you may need to prompt me in some manner. But thank you to everyone who had joined us and watched, and thank you so much to Garth and Noran. Bye, guys.
Yeah, man, you're welcome. Take care. Big up, Noran.
Everyone, and
Yes,
thank you again.
God, it was a great conversation. All right, guys.
All
Yeah, man,
right.
take care.
Bye, guys.
Bye.